Hello and welcome to The Future Farmer in association with Cars Billington, leading the industry through people, products and innovation. I'm Nick Wallace, and on each episode I'll be exploring an agricultural topic and discovering the technology that can help bring sustainable and profitable solutions to farming. From the science behind good silage to the efficient management of your milking systems. And here's a taster of what's to come. In this episode,
you go to a customer with a product they've never had before and it's set up right, and you go around the field the first time and you get a cracking cut, great results. The farmer's happy, we're happy, and yeah, it really is good to sell good equipment and get it onto good farms and work well with people.
Today it's all about the science of good silage, and we'll be asking our expert about machinery, maintenance and how we can save money. Welcome to the Future Farmer podcast. Machinery Manager Dale Shaw.
Hello, my name's Dale Shaw. I'm a machinery manager within Cars Billington, based at Penrith in Cumbria. I work in the agricultural industry. We supply farm machinery, new and used farm machinery across the UK and further afield. And I wanted to talk about grassland machinery and silage making and some tips and ideas behind what we do.
Given the fine margins on which the farming industry is based, the science of making good silage has become almost an art form with so many, almost a bewildering variety of tools available to do the job properly. Take us through the best way of doing it from first cut to when the animals are finally fed.
The principles of making good silage are to use good equipment set up well, well maintained, sharp blades, various options of different machines to cut the grass. The grass is then mown, then it's tedded out. In some cases, in the dry season like we've had so far this year, the weather's been that warm that there's not been the necessity to dry the grass out. In fact, when the weather's been that warm, in some cases the grass has been getting too dry, and it does need to retain some moisture as it goes into the silage clamp. In a traditional wet year where it's heavy crops, a lot of rain, you do need to dry the grass out. So we use tedders to go through the grass to break it up, to fluff it, to get air into it. And then we use a rake to then create a row to either be baled or picked up by a baler or a forage harvester to then ensile the crop. The machines at each of those three processes set up correctly not only ensure a very good quality product, but often lower running costs, less risk of breakdown. With silage time, we've been very lucky so far this year that we've had quite good weather, so we've had fairly good open windows to get the job done. Traditionally, we're normally fighting a 2 or 3 day weather window, and a machine breakage because a machine isn't set up correctly or maintained correctly loses valuable time that we can't afford to lose.
So what can you bring to the party as Cars Billington when farmers are looking for advice on which machines to use and how to set them up properly?
Grassland machinery is a massive part of our business. We pride ourselves on selling some of the best brands there are in the industry, and we've got a long associations with the suppliers we deal with. We know the product, we know the customer base we deal with, we have a good understanding of different types of farming and different crop and farm conditions that we have to work in, so we have a good range we can offer. With mowers from drum mowers to plane mowers to mower conditioners, tedders in various sizes and various different methods of raking up as well. We sell such a huge range in order to offer our customers the best machine for their job, to do the job well, but also to give good returns, sensible running costs, and pride ourselves in supplying brands that give good residual value as well, which is an important part of any machines now. Machines are significantly dearer than they were 5 years or 10 years or 20 years ago. So it's the running costs of machines, the overall cost of ownership from buying a good machine, using it right, getting a good product in the silage and the crop you're doing, but also having a good machine to sell again, which ultimately gives you a good cost of ownership of using that gear.
If I'm a customer walking through the door for the first time, do you do finance? Do you do part exchange on older machines? Do you do second-hand machines? Tell me about when I'm initially looking to either replace some old plant or maybe invest in something really exciting and new. What can you help me out with?
Yeah, we pride ourselves in taking in setting off customers from the very start. We take trade-ins. depending on the customer in the area and what equipment they're used to, we can bring people forward by machines that are 30 or 40 year old that they're trading in, and bring them right up to date with the latest technology. The traditional hay bob was a little 2-rotor machine that was established way back in the 70s, I think, that did an average job of tedding grass out and a pretty average job of running it back up again. But it was the basis of most grassland farms across the UK, Europe, and the whole wide world. We've still got plenty of hay bobs kicking about. We'll have a lot of new customers coming in with a hay bob to trade in, and they want to buy the latest bit of chrome gear to get them upgraded to a rake or a tedder. We've often found as well that we can get customers established into modern equipment by, if they're using a hay bob, then maybe would keep the hay bob but buy a tedder. So they just use a tedder to ted the grass out, get a good forward speed, good acres per hour covered, and then maybe keep their old hay bob to row up. And then a year or two down the line, they would maybe buy a rake to replace that, and then all the machines have all moved forward together. We offer finance, extended warranties. We have all sorts of packages on new machines. We supply mowers from a 6'6" plain disc mower at the entry level of our range, right up to a 500 horsepower self-propelled mower, which essentially is the world's biggest ride-on lawn mower, which is fantastic, and everything in between.
What kind of customer education process do you have to go through? Because are you talking to them about efficiency, about the right length of grass to cut, how to cut it, how big an area you need to be looking at with one particular machine? Or is it more to do with the ergonomics of how a machine is going? Or is it simply down to finance a lot of the time, that capital investment? What kind of discussions do you find yourself having with people when they're looking to upgrade?
Our initial thing from when the customer first approaches us, or we first approach the customer, is to establish what acres, what land, what conditions they're working in. Are they in an upland farm or at a lowland dairy farm? What horsepower tractors they've got to work with, and what are they doing? Are they silage and grass for bales or for clamp? What their expectations are. With that, we can then establish the right products within our huge range that will be more suitable for them. And then we can look more in detail about what they want to get from those machines. We offer various different configurations of a machine that will do exactly the same job. But if they've got a smaller tractor, they may need a simpler machine to go on it. Or if they're only doing 50 or 100 acres, it wouldn't justify a large capital investment in a larger machine when a smaller machine would perfectly well do the job. The other thing is as well, certainly with mowers is such a wide-ranging product. It essentially just cuts the grass, but it cuts the grass in so many different ways in terms of just mowing grass to then dry out by itself, or more commonly now in our area is mower conditioners, which also speed up the drying process by bruising the grass to help it wilt faster, which can take time out of a grassland operation. So when we're working to a closed weather window, we've got 2 days to get 100 acres picked up. Using that mower conditioner may just give the job an extra half a day to get the grass drier faster, therefore can be picked up and baled or silaged a lot quicker. However, that sort of machine making 20 or 30 acres of hay once a year would just be a rather nice luxury.
Once you've helped the customer make the right decision with regard to buying the right kit, then how much do you help them with regard to advice about the setup and maintenance of each machine for each process it's required for?
That's probably the most important step after we've got the right machine lined up for the customer, is then to get it to the field and always set the machine off that first go to work, just to establish that it's set up right, it's matched to the tractor right, it's safe, it's easy to use, and they're getting the best benefit of it. Certainly with mowers, the main thing is to get a good clean cut, to not leave a mess, to be getting a sensible work rate out of it, having the right size tractor matched to the right size machine, so that you can achieve a good working forward speed. But and then we'd using mower conditioners to make sure the conditioner's set up correct, to get the maximum benefit out of it. Spreading the crop in some cases out the back of the mower conditioner to spread it far and wide so that it dries out faster, the sun and the wind gets to it. In other cases where it's excessively warm and dry and we're having a great warm spell, you maybe would roll the grass up out the back of the mower to create a swath behind the mower in order to conserve a little bit of moisture in the crop. Then when you move on to the tedding process, which doesn't necessarily have to be carried out every time, and it isn't in every farmer's tool chest, and maybe don't ted it depending what the grass quality is, like what the conditions are. But a tedder is a very important machine to get set up right. A tedder set up wrong can make a very lumpy crop, which then makes it harder for the machine to pick up afterwards. You can get soil and contaminants into the grass, which we definitely don't want. We don't want to spoil all the hard work that's going into the crop we're putting into the silage pit of the bale. So a tedder, it's very important to have it in giving a combing effect on the surface of the cut sward to lift the grass without taking any soil, without taking any stones, without taking anything else that could cause a problem later on. But also to get the grass broken up, thrown up into the air, turned over, so that the air and the sunlight can get through it and dry it out to the right dry matter content. The tedder, if in some processes where we're going straight into silage into a clamp or a bale, we maybe would just ted it out once and then go and row it up to then create a swath to then pick up by another machine. Possibly in hay or haylage where you want a drier crop, you may use the tedder through that crop 3, 4 or 5 times if you're really trying to achieve a very, very dry product. And if there's wet and damp and dew and things like that, which can start to moisten it again, you would have to do that. But a tedder set up to go through a crop 4 or 5 times isn't set up as the same as it is to go through just once. You have to adjust the machine so you don't get as big a throw. It's important that when you're tedding out, you get a nice uniform finish, because if you create lumps at that stage in the process, when you come to then row it up, you're going to create lumps in your row, which then puts more stress and strain and slows your work rate when you're picking your swath up with your forage harvester or your round baler or square baler.
What are the pitfalls? You mentioned picking up soil, which obviously could contaminate the crop and presumably would blunt some of the tools that you're using to do the job. What other pitfalls do you make sure farmers are particularly aware of when it comes to using machinery for the job they're required to do?
The setup's critical for getting the best results and, as we said, minimising the chance of contaminants coming into it, but also to make sure it's working safely. To make sure it's not wearing excessively. A mower set up wrong with too much ground pressure on it will excessively wear the bed of the mower to the point that you're going to have to start spending more money on it faster in order to maintain how it should be. It can also, in damper conditions, a mower that's got too much bed pressure on can leave a lot of a smearing effect on the surface, which isn't needed. You need to keep the surface of the ground as clean and open as possible. Also, the grass has got to regrow again. The machines have to be set up safely. You've got to have the guards right. You've got to have drive lines running correctly, not only from a safety point of view, but from minimising a risk of a failure of a part and in-season maintenance. If the machine's set up at the start, it should get you through the cutting or tedding or raking without any hassle. Obviously, all very, very easy with a new machine that we're just shipping out the door today and going into work tomorrow. But a mower can be expected to last, depending on the farm and the acres covered, up to 30 or 40 years, I guess. So a machine that's maintained and used correctly will last a long time and be a good long-term investment.
And what are the gains that you get from ensuring you've got the right kit for the right job and maintaining it effectively? I imagine it's almost, as they talk about in Olympic sport, marginal gains. But if you're dealing with a huge number of acres, then that all mounts up and all adds to the efficiency of the product you're making.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, if you're doing the job well, it's easier done. You're getting a better quality product, and minimising the chance of having to spend money repairing a bad job done later in the season. If we make grass at this time of year into silage and do it in a slapdash approach with bad processes and bad machines set up wrong, it won't bother you initially when you've done it because you've got the grass off the field and the job's great. You get round to winter and you've got a forage crop, a silage clamp full of silage that maybe isn't as good as it could have been through a number of reasons. Maybe it's just the weather, maybe it was the conditions. But if you can make that crop better in the wintertime, you've got a more valuable product to use, better nutritional content, better dry matter. You've got a better product that you're feeding to your livestock, which ultimately we're trying to get the best output during the season to make the crop, and then the best results from the crop once you're feeding it back to the stock.
What's your relationship like with the equipment manufacturers, the people who supply the plant to you?
We have great working relationships with our main suppliers for this sort of equipment. Our primary brand, Krone, we've had a working relationship for over 25 years with that same manufacturer. We're one of the largest Krone dealers in the country. We understand that product. We've had a great relationship with that product. We've seen new products come to the market from 25 years ago where it was they just established themselves into a big square baler market. We've now seen the forage harvesters come, updates on new machines. We've worked with them through prototype machines and testing machines, and we have a great relationship with them to be at the front end of what technology they've got to offer. We also supply product from Massey Ferguson and Fendt. They recently come into the grass harvest market through an acquisition of another brand, but we've had a relationship with Agco, the parent company of Massey and Fendt, for 25 years as well. So we base what we do on understanding product, having good product to sell. As I said, grassland machinery to us is massive percentage of our new machinery business, and retaining good second-hand equipment to sell to customers as well is very important to us. Not everybody can afford or justify a brand new mower, but a good second-hand mower that's checked over, serviced right, and sold with a bit of peace of mind that you're getting a good second-hand product will perfectly well suit a lot of customers and go on to be a good sound investment.
You don't tend to think of farmers as an excitable bunch, but there must be some pleasure in watching a farmer take delivery of a brand new bit of equipment or machinery, especially if it's a big investment.
Forage harvesters at the top end of the grassland machinery range can be £300,000 now, having such a great range of gear to sell, you've always got something that's, you go to a customer with a product they've never had before, and it's set up right, and you go around the field the first time and you get a cracking cut, great results. The farmer's happy, we're happy. Ultimately, it's less stress and hassle on everybody if everything's working well. And yeah, it really is good to sell good equipment and get it onto good farms and work well with people.
I suppose one of the things you can do is provide feedback to the equipment manufacturers from what your farmers are telling you about what they think needs to be improved, what they're looking to do next, where there might be a gap in the market for a better machine. Is that something that you do a lot? Do you have those kinds of conversations?
We do, yeah. Well, we're lucky because of the relationship we have with good people within the suppliers and the manufacturers we deal with. We have good lines of communication back to the factories, and I really believe what discussions we have really make a difference. We've had pre-production and test machines in Cumbria. Cumbria, it's wet a lot. There's a lot of long, hard grass to cut. There's some challenging conditions, but we've established machines in our area and got them up and running. And certainly in instances that jump to mind, we've maybe had 2 or 3 versions of the same machine over 2 or 3 years until they've got a machine right. And then it has been released as a production machine for the whole wide world. But part of its test process has been with Cars Billington, with our customers in our area. And it's great to have a relationship where that information can feed backwards and forwards. Having good manufacturers, good suppliers that are receptive and want to work with us and our customers is key to a good long-term relationship, I think. And that really shows with the products we now have, some of the latest gear that's coming out, launched at the big shows like Agritechnica and SEMA and them sort of shows. If we can say that was trialled up in the north of England and in some fairly testing conditions, and now you see it on a big stand and released to the world, there's a bit of pride in that as well, I think.
So what would be your main message then to farmers about the equipment that's coming down the line, setting it up right, making sure you've got the right machine for the right field and the right job when it comes to making good silage?
I think the important thing is to get machine set up together first, ourselves and the customer working together. Every time we supply a machine, we really like to, as much as possible, be there and get the thing set off the first go to work in the field. But then refine and fine-tune those settings and remember them for next season, for next cut, because everybody's land's different, everybody's tractor's different. There's all sorts of different circumstances on different farms in different conditions, and how it's set up on one farm might be slightly different than what it's set up at another farm. And you'll find people maybe find their own sweet spots, if you like, their own happy place with how a machine needs to be set to get the best results, and we can learn a lot off that, and our manufacturers can learn a lot off that a machine set up that way gives a slightly better finish or a slightly better cut or takes slightly less horsepower to drive, and share that information, and then next cut or next season you come back to set the machine up again, you get the same results. And I think there's, to maintain that, to set machines up very well and to get good fine tuning is really, really important. Machines well maintained as well, keeping blades sharp, keeping tines replaced on tedders and rakes and stuff like that. It does pay. We've seen mowers that we've maybe supplied mowers, and customer feels it's taking a little bit too much driving, or it's leaving a little bit of a rougher finish on the surface when you're cutting, and you go out to it and you have a look, and there's the blades are maybe a bit past the best, or there's maybe some non-genuine parts fitted which just haven't got the same edge as a genuine part would have finished. That blade not cutting that grass as well will take more power to drive, therefore more diesel to use. If you use a sharp blade, you get a better finish, less horsepower, less fuel, everything just works a bit better. And there's little things you find as you go along that are just good little things to jog the memory before you start using the machine next time.
And of course, the situation being as it is now, you're not getting out to the farms presumably as much as you'd like, but I guess you're always there to have a conversation on the end of a phone if there is someone who wants to talk to you about equipment.
Yeah. We through the situation as it's been, we've maintained good contact with customers via the phone. Every form of communication, emails, Facebook pages, videos, YouTube, everything. We're trying to share as much information as possible. We're always here to speak to the customer as a team. We've supported customers to get into First Cut this time, and sort of remote setup by video chat on setting the tractor screen up to set the mower to the right cut height and stuff. It's brilliant what we've kind of found we can do, and how it maybe makes us a bit more efficient, and we've discovered things that, rather than popping out to a farmer to just set him up because he's had his mower off a few weeks and he can't just remember things, a quick WhatsApp video call or something like that, we can have a quick look around the machine and just put some pointers, and the customer can be up and running in 5 minutes, maybe, rather than the 2 hours it'll take us to get to the farm and set up. So we found that's really good. We unfortunately can't visit farms at the moment, which is perfectly understandable, the right, safe way of working. But we have maintained supply, we have maintained backup and support to our customers, and I think everybody's hit certainly First Cut silage pretty well, really.
Dale, it's been brilliant talking to you. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise and knowledge.
Thank you.
Well, that's it. Thanks for listening to the Future Farmer podcast in association with Cars Billington. For more information about some of the issues discussed in this episode, search for the Cars Billington website. Once there, you can email with your inquiry, or if you've a question about feeds, machineries, agricultural and rural supplies, or fuels, there are Cars Billington experts on the other end of the phone. Listen out for future episodes, and don't forget to like and subscribe so we know if we're answering all your questions. I'm Nick Wallace, and until next time, keep safe and keep farming.